I believe we are live now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a discussion of Kingdoms of Death, the fourth book in the Sun Eater series. And I'm joined here today by my wonderful crew, the usual, my red company.
Wait a minute.
No
Do you know
spoilers
something
yet.
we don't? Yeah.
My red company, at least for today. But yes, here they are. I'm gonna say hello to each of you, and we'll talk non-spoiler for a little bit. We are 4 books into a series though, so we can only do this for so long. But we'll talk non-spoiler about Kingdoms of Death, our non-spoiler thoughts, how we feel about this book tonally, and everything else, and what we think it is within the series. And of course, my 4 guests are going to know a lot more about that than I am because they've all read the whole series before. I'm the only one, but that does remind me to please ask everyone, do not give any spoilers in the chat for anything beyond Kingdoms of Death, as I have not read those books yet. So let's start with you, Dylan. Today, what do you think of Kingdoms of Death? What are your overall non-spoiler thoughts on this one?
Love it. It's right up there with Demon and White for my favorite reading experience, of the series. It's for me where we really got to love the rest of the cast more. It made me realize also maybe I didn't love them as much in the earlier books, but I really got the outside characters outside of Hadrian's head in this one that we got to really connect to here. And yeah, it's just an emotional ruin. I was rereading this one whilst on an 8-hour drive to a very sad event, and it was not a fun time to go through this book whilst driving to that.
Can imagine.
Yeah. But yeah, fantastic.
Wonderful. All right, and speaking of the author Janny Wurts, we have someone here, T. Tuck, who is on Fugitive Prince, and your series is amazing, Janny. We all know that.
Just wait. Just wait.
That's Wars of Light and Shadow, of course, is the series, in case anyone didn't know. But we're here to talk about Kingdoms of Death. What are your thoughts on this one, Janny, for your just non-spoiler stuff?
Definitely not a bedtime story. Definitely ripped the main character torture porn right out of Robin Hobb's Red Little Fists.
Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah, this guy goes, it's biblical.
Mm-hmm.
In more, not just metaphorically, but also you're beginning to see the roots of how this character is shifting and changing and tapping into something greater than himself. But yeah, this was a hard one to reread because it is frankly terrifying.
Yeah, that is the right word, among others. Terrifying. Absolutely. How about you, Jacob? What are your thoughts, non-spoiler, on this one?
It's a light, fun time.
Yeah.
Quite enjoyed it.
Little popcorn read, is it?
Yeah, I sat in my chair and had some little gummy bears and had a lovely little time. No, it's a rough read, and that's exactly why it's one of my favorites of the series. It is, for me, where Ruocchio starts to show some of his strengths that I didn't know that he had before, with the emotional scenes that kind of come out of here. And obviously we can get into that later in the spoilers, but the theming here also really hit for me as well in the way that ties into Hadrian's journey specifically. So ranks pretty high up there for me. I think it's my second favorite of the series.
Okay.
It changes on different days.
That's pretty serious. We have a question here for you, Janny. Have you read Berserk, the manga?
No, I don't. I have not dipped my toe into manga. Mostly financial reasons, because you got to buy so many volumes to get anywhere with it.
Yeah. Fair enough. Now, I did recently have the amazing experience of chatting with Christopher Ruocchio, and I do believe after chatting with him that Berserk you could count it as an influence on him. And even certain moments, perhaps in Kingdoms of Death, might be related to Berserk. Now, I have not read Berserk myself yet, but someday. And anyone here read Berserk? Dylan, have you read Berserk?
About 100 chapters, but it's not fresh on my mind, so I didn't make those connections the first time through.
Oh, 100 chapters.
Yep, and we are aware that originally Kingdoms of Death and Ashes of Man were one book, and they got separated for publication purposes, I suppose. We'll get to Ashes of Man real soon. I'm going to start listening to the audiobook tomorrow, so I'm kind of chomping at the bit to get going here. But John, your non-spoiler thoughts on this one? Where do you rate it? What are your thoughts? How does it fit into the series as a whole?
When I read this one, it was my favorite of the series. Now I would probably put it maybe third. It just like Demon in White, it seems like we get more than one book in the book. The first half of the book kind of seems like a different book, and the second half of the book for me is where all the juiciness is that I absolutely love. I love the dark. Bring it. I want more of it. So when we got there, I was quite happy, and but going forward, I need a towel. But going forward, there's a couple books that I think overall I like as much as I like the second half of this. And I like the first half of this, but not as much as I like the second half. So that's why it gets pushed down to like third.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Please tell me you didn't spill cider all over that book.
No, the book is fine.
Okay. Cool.
Nothing else is. I'm gonna get a towel. But the computer's over there. I didn't get any fluid in the computer.
Great. Happy to hear it.
All right. Well, I'm going to blab for a moment here about my thoughts. And I love that Mick Garfield started out our chat with this quote from Thomas Carlyle. That's a writer that I studied during my PhD because I was very interested in 19th century medievalism, and Carlyle was a pretty important figure in all of that. And the quote that Mick Garfield has here is from Carlyle's book on heroes, hero worship, and the heroic in history. And Carlyle was an interesting thinker in many ways. He was he began as somebody who was with really his best work to me is Sartor Resartus, and it's a brilliant work. If you want to read some amazing prose, read Sartor Resartus. And this is a work that was partly a crisis of faith, but also an affirmation of faith. It's going through that crucible of losing faith and then rediscovering a sense of the numinous. And in his later stuff, like on the title maybe implies, on heroes, hero worship, and the heroic in history, Carlyle became convinced that where meaning comes from in life is through work, and the best course out of the confusion and turmoil of society is to follow strong leaders. And he makes some very appealing arguments in that respect. Later on, he gets a little more, in his later years, a little hardened and a little more fascist in his thinking, which is honestly, for me, a lot less attractive than his earlier stuff. But in the book on heroes, hero worship, and the heroic in history, he also talks a lot about the importance of labor and meaning and working in order to get, for the ordinary person, that your meaning comes from your labor and your work. And that's partly what this quote that Mick Garfield is actually alluding to here. I'm going to read a little bit more from the quote. It's the noble silent men scattered here and there, each in his department, silently thinking, silently working, whom no morning newspaper makes mention of. They are the salt of the earth. Woe for us if we had nothing but what we can show or speak. Silence, the great empire of silence, higher than the stars, deeper than the kingdoms of death. It alone is great. All else is small. And there you can see Carlyle's emphasis on the ordinary person. And I think that's we could also take that as a nod to the people of the Red Company with what happens in this book, particularly at the end. This is a nod to all of them in some ways, but also a nod to the sense of the numinous that pervades the universe and how we can reach toward it through our labor and that kind of thing. So an affirmation of not only a sense of meaning, but free will in our determination to get to that meaning. And we decide whether or not we're going to embrace that. And I feel like these things are all really central to what Christopher Ruocchio is writing about in this series. The ideas of free will and making meaning and determining what your future will be despite the huge odds against you. We've got a lot in this book about trauma and survival. We've got a lot about the nature of evil. Are the Cielsen just completely evil? And are we any better, actually, than the Cielsen? Is there such a thing as complete evil? And you have a lot of, a lot of suffering, and it takes an almost religious form in this book.
Yeah.
There's a lot in here about destiny and, and free will. And the moments where you see really key moments in this book, particularly, I think they've been sprinkled in the series already quite a few times. But in this book, I really found some really key moments where the character's determination to live, just to live, not to take your own life, not to allow your life to be snuffed out, is an act of heroism. So those are my sort of spoiler-free thoughts. Anyone else have any spoiler-free thoughts to share before we dive into the spoilers? John, go for it.
Yeah, just jumping off of that quote there, I think you'll find as you get to the tail end of this series that really pays off, the least of us being an enormous, important link in the overall chain of all. So that thematically, that just pays off in so many ways down the road as well.
Yep. Beautifully said, as always. Anyone else?
I saw the book being the split in the middle, where the first half and the second half, where one half of the book was the extreme end of a political spectrum. Everything was erased to gray. All individuality is gone. And the erasure of creativity, the erasure of the sexes, the erasure of everything that makes us root into the arts, versus the second half, which is so deeply rooted in faith, mysticism, survival, the emphasis on the individual's making a difference. It was really pulling from two very extreme ends of the spectrum.
That's beautifully said. And I think, and I don't disagree with everyone who's saying this is a really grim, dark story, though I don't think it's grim dark, actually. But it's a tough one. It's a real tough one. But you can't forget what happens at the end of this book. Mm-hmm. That part needs to be part of the discussion. And if you had lopped off that last section, then okay, fine. Then it's relentlessly dark and difficult and bleak. But I think that Christopher Ruocchio knew exactly what he was doing when he wrote that last part, which we will talk about.
I can't wait to get to that non-spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, there's a real catharsis in this book when you get to that part. When you finish this book, it's very different from where you are in the deepest, darkest moment, and we all know where that is. but there's more to follow. There's life after death. There's even there's a sense of purpose even after the catastrophe. So yeah, that's important, I think, to even a non-spoiler way to I think assert that this is not just a terrible, grim, dark, gritty story where everybody dies and all that. No, actually, there is some real affirmation in this story as well. And I think that's really important to emphasize. So any other non-spoiler thoughts for the good of the order?
I think also what makes the book not defined as grimdark is there's a lot of theming around the balance between is there free will or is there not free will. And I think Ruocchio purposely doesn't entirely answer that question of yes or no.
Right.
And by the end of the book, obviously there's a reason for that. Like you said, there is always life around the death. They're like the battle of good and evil. They're light and dark. They both exist. And for there being a reason in this universe specifically, in Ruocchio's kind of point to this story of why there is free will, but also sometimes not free will, kind of takes it away from the grimdark in my perspective.
Some great comments here from Nico. Says things. Yes, the erasure of the individual in the first half and the focus on the individual in the second is a brilliant contrast. I think that's really well said. And Remus says, sometimes the midpoint of a grand story is also the melting point where the characters need to be melted down in the crucible before they can be reforged into the steel. Beautifully said once again. And yes, it does feel like, Benjamin says this book feels like a marathon for your will. That is absolutely true. And this is a great comment again from Nico says things. There is no Easter without Good Friday. Kingdoms of Death is the Good Friday of the series. That's also very well said.
I think it's interesting because I agree with you guys. It's not, I wouldn't call it grimdark, but I feel like the emotional punch and the wallop kind of hits more firmly sometimes because there is that catharsis there. There is that light to balance out. There is that hope. So when there is those moments of the absence of that in a world that does include them, sometimes the emotionality really rings true and hits home for me. So I think it was very well done in that respect.
Exactly my thoughts, John. Totally agree. And we've got Theo Reed saying, this is my favorite Sun Eater book, thanks to that amazing ending.
Yeah, I love the ending. I can't wait to see what part of the ending you're talking about there, Dr. Chase. I love it. Yeah.
Me too. And
This is not grimdark.
no,
Yeah.
Because nobody in this book finishes in futility.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Beautiful. All right, everybody. Thank you for your non-spoiler thoughts. Now we are going to jump into spoilers for Kingdoms of Death. So that is your warning if you have not yet read Kingdoms of Death. We are about to give everything away and talk about all these traumatic moments in this book that ripped our hearts out and stomped all over the floor, but then kind of healed us a little bit at the end. So, so all right. Well, this actually structurally, I think, is not the hardest not the most complex of the series so far. Actually, you've got in the beginning Nessus with, of course, that great opening where Hadrian and his soldiers are what was the place called? Iacana, that power station place where they encounter lots of Cielsen, but also Hushansa, the one with the many hands, Hushansa, who can reproduce or whatever it is he does. And there's that really cool moment where Hadrian sees all the possible futures and picks the right one and slice with his. Got some cool moments in there, but that's really more of a prologue to this. Really, what happens is the important thing is that Hadrian's been sidelined for about 100 years on Nessus with Valka, so they've had time, some nice together time on Nessus.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Both kind of itching to get back in the game, but they're and they've had to be maybe protected by the emperor because of all of Hadrian's enemies, particularly the Chantry going after him and whatnot. So he's been mostly sidelined for nearly 100 years, but then comes the emperor on his grand tour, and he has a mission for Hadrian, which is to go to the Lothrian Commonwealth. So anybody want to talk about any of this stuff? Any thoughts on, first of all, that little prologue type section? Hushansa is an important meeting, I guess. That's one of the 5 fingers of the hand. 6, sorry. Cielsen out there. I didn't mean to offend. What are the 6 fingers?
Of the hand.
Of the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on that section before we go into the mission to the Lothrian Commonwealth?
It feels funny now how many books have started with the emperor coming up to Hadrian and be like, I got a job for you. You're going to lose, but I got a job for you.
Yeah. Well, we may want you to lose.
Actually, we hope you lose.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
But it struck me, and this is going to sound weird, but it struck me with the impossible mission in the beginning and the high action moments, and then we go into this almost clandestine diplomatic portion of the book. It almost struck me like a James Bond flick, where they have that high action thing at the beginning and then something happens and the credits roll and then you go to the, what's happening in the world and like a spy behind the enemy lines type of feel. And then at the half mark, then it gets a whole different vibe.
Yeah, here's a great point. Valka has been sort of kind of healed, but she still has effects from having her mind put in a blender, so to speak, by one of the Minos Minoan sorcerers. What was his name? The one who did it? The creepy one?
Urbane.
Urbane, thank you. Yeah, he figures large in here, so we'll talk about him again. It was a cool opening. I felt it was just a great opening that gave us some nice action. But then really we get to the main plot when Hadrian is sent to the Lothrians. And Brian had already mentioned this, but yes, Brian, the society of the Lothrians is very closely based on the Askians from Book of the New Sun. And I think they mostly figure in Citadel of the Autarch, so the very last book in Book of the New Sun. But the idea of a language that where people speak, not in the way we would speak, but in stock phrases that everybody knows from an almost a Bible for that society, that comes straight out of a Book of the New Sun. That is a very deliberate nod, in a sense, to Gene Wolfe, but it also is something, in my opinion, that Christopher Ruocchio takes and does something new with. He fleshes out this society in a big way and integrates it into the plot. This feels much more three-dimensional. The Askians in Book of the New Sun feel very symbolic to me, which is, that's what Gene Wolfe was doing. But he takes that concept and he really runs with it. So I think, who here has read Citadel of the Autarch? So just you, Janny? Okay. So, if you got to the end of Book of New Sun, John, I think you read the first 2 books in it?
I read the first 2, yeah.
Okay, yeah. They come in at the end. But yeah, the Lothrians, as soon as you read the Askians, but you'll be like, oh, I see where that came from.
Okay.
But, of course, and I think you would agree, Janny, that Christopher does a lot more with the Lothrians than what we get in Book of the New Sun with the Askians.
It's like Marxism on steroids or communism on
Yes.
steroids. I mean,
Yeah.
I went to Russia in 1976, just
Wow.
when Nixon got the Iron Curtain relaxed enough that we could visit. And I'm telling you, the colorlessness, the decision of who becomes artist and who doesn't, the stock phrases, the people who were the tour guides who showed us around, I mean, they were almost like mechanically recorded. The fact that you walked into a supermarket and there was no color, 2 companies made the labels, there was no advertising, no competition, no friction,
Wow.
it was like having every nerve in your body anesthetized. So I feel like you needed the opening with that colorful, strong action scene so that you could slip into that ideological argument against what extremism can do to a society. And
it
having
comes
a
down
very
to-
colorfully emotional character like Hadrian thrust into this
Mm-hmm.
totally flat line where emotion doesn't mean anything, where language is controlled, every thought is supposedly controlled, but still the lowest of the low
Yeah.
managed to sidestep it.
Yeah.
So it was really an ideological argument played out on the page.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Jake is agreeing. He actually prefers Christopher Ruocchio's take over Wolfe's in terms of the Lothrians versus the Askians. And we've got some people who are determined, I think that's probably a good idea to read Book of the New Sun. You're going to see a lot of stuff, if you're a fan of the Sun Eater series, that you're going to be like, oh, that's cool. So, yeah. And here we go. Yeah, I mean, the Lothrian Commonwealth is a seriously messed up society where you got an idea that in principle sounds kind of maybe that could be a good thing for lots of people, but then it just doesn't really work out so well. And we've seen that play out in the real world a few times. But it is also a society that is under threat. And of course, as we learn, they are not in charge of themselves. Not the people, because you've got the conclave, which is basically an elite, but also the Cielsen have their all 6 fingers in there, messing around with help from the Minos sorcerers, Urbane and what was her name? Severine. Urbane and Severine are a big part of what's happening there, and the trap. So initially on the city's called Padmarak, I think, right, in the Lothrian Commonwealth, where they get ambushed, and Hadrian is blown off a bridge and is rescued by these individuals in the underworld, as it were. There's kind of almost like a sewer underworld thing that he gets into, which I thought was really cool, because there you see finally people speaking in a way that's authentic, that you have the actual people there, right? Anyone
That's
want
where
to
he finds out they're selling their own people.
Yep.
Yes.
And that feels so
Literally.
much like watching what's going on in Ukraine, where the Russians don't care how many people they slaughter. They just keep throwing them in there in the meat grinder. Like I said, it's an ideological argument extracted to an extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Very uncomfortable to read.
Very. I also like to take that there was a little there are some offshoots. Not every planet or every corner of the galaxy here is the Empire. Some
Good.
people went a different way. Not only Valka's people, of course, that we know about, but here we have the Lothrians, that a complete different ideology, a complete different way, and now if the enemy of my enemy, we can be friends. We've got to, for the good of humanity, come together. I really liked that look behind the curtain here on the galaxy, that not everyone is walking lockstep with the Empire.
Yep. Any other thoughts on this section before things go really south? Where Hadrian really south.
Really south.
One last thing. I've always noticed that with an extremely authoritarian culture like that, where they try to control everything, there's always a bunch of elites at the top who are not part of it. And this certainly had that quality to it. You can only repress humanity so far. You still are dealing with some of the same forces that separate us.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
And
Benjamin,
definitely that was present in this culture.
Mm-hmm. And it's present in the Empire. I think it's present in any form of ruling government that people kind of put together. There seems to be an aristocracy or a group of oligarchs or a group of haves and have-nots. I mean, it just doesn't seem like we can get away from it.
Yeah, it's a mask of equality, but it's by the time that someone else called them sewer Catholics, which I thought was funny. That's exactly what they are, though. Like they're the people living at the bottom of the society, where you realize, oh, there is no equality here.
and we've met some of these Catholics actually on Hadrian's homeworld in The Lesser Devil. If you read that little novella, you know that there are in this future that the Catholic faith still exists in little enclaves, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a crazy car chase scene. Absolutely.
Yeah, at the end, sure.
Where poor Hadrian gets. We think he's going to make it. He's going to join Valka and Krim and the others and get away. But nope. He gets caught. And that is really the beginning of 7 years of absolute hell.
Yeah.
So
It was
and that
car chase
for-
versus speeders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that car chase for me was right about when the James Bond feeling stopped.
yeah, in a big way. James
Yeah.
Bond never went through that.
No.
I mean, yeah, the Bond movies with Daniel Craig could get a little dark at times, but not that dark.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts, guys, on are we going to leave behind the Lothrian Empire now? Or Commonwealth, sorry.
Let's get into the sad stuff. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. The 7 years of hell aboard Doriaika, his world ship there, Darantun, I think it's called, right? Darantun. Yes. Let's go to Darantun, everybody! Yay!
Yay!
What are your impressions of Darantun? Anybody? Dylan, what do you think of Darantun? We want to book a vacation house there somewhere?
A bit cold for me.
Timeshare.
Just wasn't a fun time.
1 star.
Not much else really comes to mind. That it was just bleak.
Yeah.
What was your reaction, Philip? Like you knew going into this that it was going to be.
You knew it was
the
coming.
sad and depressing one. What was?
Yeah.
After the car chase, how did this hit you?
Yeah. Oh, I do want to shout out to Magda's hymn there. Thank you for mentioning that, Nick Starfield. I liked that character, that she was this healer who was determined to make the world better. And there's an example of someone exercising free will, right? Even in a place like the Lothrian Commonwealth, where everybody's free will is seemingly stripped away, by this crazy, complete obedience to this. It's to the extent that you can't even speak normally. You have to quote this silly book all the time. You have a woman there exercising her free will. So yeah, definitely want to shout out Magda there. So yes, yeah, it is, as Chris says here, right up there with Mordor. Yeah, and Zadum, places I never want to go. Yeah, I would say so, for sure. And there's a, I don't know. I mean, this hit differently than anything else I've seen in the series so far. This stint on Darantun, where it's not just the physical torture, but the psychological torture.
Yes.
Breaking down. And of course, Sirianni Doriaika has a plan here, because he can't just defeat Hadrian. He has to humiliate him, because Hadrian is the representative of the quiet, and he is the representative, the prophet of the Watchers. And this has to be a definitive defeat. So it can't be just kill. It has to be humiliate, strip of will. Again, it's an attempt to strip Hadrian of his free will, to take his personhood away. And it is brutal and horrible. And there are key moments in this sequence of 7 years where you see Hadrian, as many faults as he has, as many foibles that we can point to for Hadrian. There's something that I really admire about him, and that is his determination to hold on to his free will here. There's a moment where he is tempted to take his own life by drowning himself in that little pool of water that's in his cell. And he simply refuses to do that. He says, no, I am making this decision to keep living, to keep going. And then the other moment I thought that was really crucial there was the temptation scene, where Severine comes to him and says, hey, I can get you out of this. I just need to, upload your consciousness, and we'll stick you in a clone, and you will wake up, and it'll all be over. Just follow me, come with me. And it, there's even a piece of me that was saying, yeah, why don't you do that, Hadrian? Yeah. What did you guys think of that scene? I thought that was a really crucial moment. Any thoughts on that?
The choice to keep his humanity prevailed.
Yes.
And even though he had moments where he wavered, and that's where I admire the way the scenes were written, he wasn't always on the up and up to hang on there were moments when he regretted his moments of courage. There were down moments that were where he really hit bottom. And also 5 stars, no sexual assault. It's as grim as it gets, but without that.
Yep. I mean, he didn't need to, go there. No. And the shredding of the mind was taking place in so many other ways. And I think that probably when Hadrian got most desperate was when he first found out that the Tamerlane had been taken, and they serve one of his officers for dinner.
Yeah.
And that's when he realizes, because he had been told before, but I think he still was trying not to believe that the Tamerlane had been taken. And he didn't know if his friends who had been on Padmarak with him had escaped or not, or if they were among those taken. That includes Valka, of course.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's been a while, but didn't they tell Hadrian close to the beginning of him being captured that Valka was dead? And
yes, they did.
Let him sit with that. And then they ate one of his officers. They kind of just left him up to the imagination of if Valka was going to be next,
Yeah. Yep, deliberately.
I really love when we hit Darantun and we get to like you were saying, Dr. Chase, you're not breaking you're not breaking Hadrian physically alone. The whole point of this is once you get him face to face with a funhouse mirror of himself that just believes a different side, a different ideology, the Watchers versus the Quiet. They have to strip him and take away, they have to break his entire ideology of believing in the Quiet, of believing that's offer anything to him. it's way beyond just physical and mental. It's all the way down to ideology. You've got to completely strip him of all of that. And those threads of the cosmic horror feel of the Watchers versus Quiet, an ideological war across the cosmos and across all of space and time, was just pushing every button for me. I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved how brutal and how dark it got in that journey to try and strip him of physical belief and everything else. Because I'd been waiting, quite honestly. I've been waiting for Hadrian to have a tab. Like, I've been waiting for the bill to come due, like either through him or the Quiet or the friends around him, the Red Company. He seems to have somehow skirted, gotten away from, pulled off these impossible missions that the Emperor keeps sending him on. And the bill, someone finally came up to the table and pushed that bill across, and it had come due. And I had been waiting for that, and it came across in grand fashion for me.
Yeah. Well said, John. I love this, what Remus has said here. He's literally given the chance, Hadrian, he's literally given the chance to give up his humanity in order to save himself from suffering. Yet he embraces his own humanity, knowing that doing so means accepting suffering. And there is...
Life is suffering.
Yes, life is suffering. There's almost a theological component to this.
Absolutely.
7-year crucifixion scene.
7 years.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Hadrian is transformed by this. Make no mistake. This is not the same person who comes out. There's a real sense of transcendence. And it's not pretty. We're used to thinking of transcendence as being just, lights and gloriful music and all that. But this is transcendence through suffering. And it's really something.
There were also questions of what that suffering looks like for him after being somebody that died and came back to life, and potentially can do it again. It has some kind of quiet powers, or maybe the Quiet's looking after him. And can he die? And now it's very clear that the threat to Hadrian is going to be that he cannot keep all of these people safe that he loves, and by his decision that the Cielsen have to go, there is no chance for peace here. There must be war. That's going to be on the table for him. That his sense of safety is going to change and must be dismantled as well.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Yeah, there are so many moments through this where Hadrian is hanging by his mangled arm, and of course the moment when Syriani Doriaika bites his 2 fingers off.
Yeah.
And as a symbolic gesture, you took 2 of my fingers, I'm going to take 2 of yours, right? And we're so used to it was horrible, yeah. And we're so used to Hadrian saying, "My good right hand," right? That's a phrase he uses a lot, and so it takes on. Oof! I can imagine a reread every time you read "My good right hand" prior to this, thinking, "Oh my boy, you don't know what's coming."
Yeah, enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
The phrase that's going to stick with me to my grave is that party favors.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yep.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. No, this feels like a nearly hopeless situation, really. But even amidst that hopelessness, as I said, I think it's key that Hadrian does not give in, that he insists that, no, I'm not going to take my own life. I'm going to see this to the end. And he refuses to relinquish his humanity and his suffering. Right.
And again, we can all trace this back, but he does not give in, and it is without the Quiet. He's unable to touch that consciousness, that deity, that, some type of divine power. And it's him holding on to his humanity alone. He has to face this by himself. There's no Deus Ex Machina that's going to lower down and help him out here. And he has to choose life is suffering. If somebody offered you this amazing gift that's a life, and it's going to include all of this, you would still take it every time. He's got to remain a strong belief in being alive and a person, and his beliefs are worth it.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think that the Cielsen are just evil?
No.
Or is this go ahead. Just elaborate on your no, John, if you want. Yeah.
Absolutely not. I think we already saw that early on
Mhm.
in at the end of Howling Dark, when Hadrian's starting to subscribe to the, well, there's nothing, we're just not going to ever connect. There's no diplomacy to be had here. It's got to be all out destruction. It's got to be all out war. I have to sign. But what is the one thing that they did connect on? The threat to their children. There is. It's a fun house mirror of himself. It's a fanatical belief in something larger than themselves that just so happens that Doriaika is the Watcher, and it's completely ideologically opposed to what Hadrian has to believe. But they're both can look at the mirror and say, I'm doing what's best for the reality of this cosmos. I'm doing what's best to rewrite the reality of this cosmos in a way that the story will be told going forward, which is the best chance for the cosmos. They both entirely believe that.
Yeah. Okay.
I also think that when
It's-
you start to believe in deities that are as large as the Watchers and the Quiet, that you start to encounter questions that we're not capable of answering, with knowledge that we'll never have, and it becomes a gray area to say definitively which one is good and which one is evil, because it comes down to belief. The Cielsen believe in the Watchers. Those are the deities that they were
Right.
shown, and those are the ones that they follow. They believe that to be good, just like Hadrian believes the Quiet to be good. But there's no proof necessarily that whatever knobs are being twisted up high above that we can't see of the machinations of the cosmos that we don't understand. We don't totally know what's good or evil. We can't possibly know that.
Yeah.
And are we any different in how we have exploited and brutalized other creatures in the universe?
Absolutely.
Are we better than the Cielsen? Yeah.
Hadrian's, we know he's going to commit an egregious genocide. I mean,
Yeah.
we know he's going to eat a son. Like, we know that's coming. So whatever his belief is going to drive him to, is it all that different when you really start to examine it and look at it?
The Cielsen are tools.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They were tools, and they were tools that were reestablishing a civilization that pretty much killed itself off, poisoned itself.
Mm-hmm.
I would
And-
say the question differs, not so much the Cielsen who were born and bred and raised up to be tools, is what are the Watchers
Exactly.
truly? That's
There it is.
the one. And where I see the huge similarity between the first half of this book and the second is the second half of the book really subscribes to the book, to the belief that transcendence happens through suffering, that is the path, that is the only path to discover humanity. It doesn't show other facets that could be, and I'm not denigrating the book. It's absolutely what this book was designed to do, was examine that one facet, but it really doubled down on that one facet of the martyrdom being the path, and the ennobilization of the suffering being the path, as
Yep.
proof that you're human. But that might not necessarily be the only truth. And I don't think at this stage in the series that the Quiet has even defined itself where it really stands
No, it hasn't.
on that spectrum.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
I
that
think
context, we've got one of you who said it earlier. I thought that was really well said. A 7-year crucifixion.
Janny. That was
Janny.
Janny.
Beautifully
Yeah,
said.
well, didn't you get the feeling of, why, my God, why have you forsaken me?
Yes,
the Quiet's
absolutely.
Not talking to him.
Absolutely. I
Or
think
as Jake says, this is like Book of Job, right? Being
Yeah,
stripped
yeah.
one by one of all his family, his identity, his dignity, one by one, all these things stripped away from him until he's just a suffering piece of flesh,
Right. And when they leave the world ship and they get to, the big stage, the planet with the huge skull of the god, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm pretty sure I told Christopher that the echoes that you're feeling of that horrible march up the hills of Golgotha. I mean, it's just absolutely everywhere. in this. Like, this has become such a story about, I mean, and it was before this, but this becomes such a story about a chosen one on a biblical level going through this, that it's, I mean, the parallels just happen over and over and over again.
Yeah. Here's some more thoughts. The CL Center, like the demons in Frieren, they're predators, our predators. And that's true. They they treat us the way we treat pretty
Cattle.
much all other, like cattle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Similar comment here. They're like hyenas. I don't see them as evil. I see them as entirely alien in almost every way. They have a completely different worldview, and their gods are our devils. Yeah,
That's it. That's it. And if you were to get them and start them young enough or in some way, are they capable of learning something else? Are they capable to have different beliefs? Are they capable to interact with us in different ways? I would say yes. I do not believe that they're just inherently evil.
And this is an interesting point too. Chris Longson answers Jake's comment with a quote from Job: "Though he slay me, I trust in him." And this is what the book of Job is about faith, isn't it? And it's a test of a sort. It's where, the Satan figure says to God, "Hey, that guy Job, he likes you, but that's only because he's got everything good. Let's take it all away from him and see if he's still righteous," right? So it's a test of faith of a sort. And this is what Nico also reiterates here. Nico says things, a bit of a Job. It is a bit of a testing of his faith in the quiet. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you guys go ahead, John?
That is why the quiet is distinctly quiet through all of this.
Yeah.
Which brings you back a little bit to the free will of it all. In his most suffering time, the quiet seems to have left him. And I think we brought it up in a previous discussion about, if God is all powerful, why is there suffering? And the only answer that we can assume is that because it is designed so that we have a full spectrum of experience. And Hadrian, presumably, the quiet has left because the quiet wants Hadrian to suffer. And it makes you wonder, if Hadrian did crawl into that little puddle and drown himself, would the quiet just bring him right back to suffer some more?
Yeah. That would
or the quiet has another piece on the board to move forward or move up.
Sure, yeah. Again, who knows what's going on up there?
Yeah, okay. Yes, this is true. Also, Hadrian does go on definitely a journey. Yeah. And we are definitely going to get to the Mudinar part where the sacrifice is happening, which of course you can't help but place of the skull. It's a giant skull, Golgotha. Yeah. For his crucifixion, his sacrifice. So yeah, there's some very obvious parallels there. We are going to get there shortly, but a few things do happen first. But yeah, poor Hadrian, my father, why have you forsaken me? Yes, indeed. So yeah, some great comments here. Sorry, I can't get to all of them in the chat, but you guys are really contributing some good ones.
Yeah.
Anyone else have thoughts before we continue with Hadrian's torture and his he even has a temptation scene with Severine. But ultimately he is taken to the planet Yue, which is this not the Yeltsin homeworld, because it was actually occupied. Yeah. They were taken there. And it was previously inhabited by the NR. So any thoughts on any of the stuff that we are leaving behind before we leave it all behind?
I love all the comments because it's all these things I picked up, and I loved how you talked to Christopher, and I don't know when you did, Dr. Chase, but the video I just watched last week.
Yeah.
Talking about inspiration and homage, springboarding off of all these stories that he's grown up loving and being in conversation with them. And it's not just the science fiction genre. It's biblical. It's Shakespeare. It's Christopher Marlowe. It's so many other things that he's using here as well. And this one truly, truly gets so biblical. And I love seeing all the comments of this, because that's why I was so flummoxed when the final book came out and there was a lot of criticism about, there's just so much, Christianity and stuff. It's like, oh my, where have you been for the whole series? Like, what are you talking about? This should not be a surprise to anyone.
I agree. Yeah. Well said. And speaking of references, Mick Garfield comes through again with the reference to La Belle Dame sans Merci by my boy Keats. And this is, of course, the I Saw Pale Kings and Princes. And we saw a bunch of pale kings and princes who all get killed by none other than Siriani Doriaika. He slaughters them. They brings everybody together. Hey, let's have a big powwow, everybody. And they meet on Uwe at Aktarumu, this ancient city that was part of, actually, the NR built it with this huge skull temple of the god, one of the gods of the dreamer, or Udinar. And my goodness, he brings them all, and it's a betrayal. He has this whole plot that he's going to get rid of all his rivals. This guy is a schemer, isn't he? And by the way, I had to address this because people some people in advance kind of warned me, I guess, is that the way to put it? But I'm listening to the audiobooks, and the voice for who, have you guys listened to the audio? Dylan, have you listened to the audio?
No, but I've heard Doriaika is not right.
No, well, I'm not going to agree with that, actually. I am going to say that the voice for Siriana Doriaika, the moment you hear it, it is nails on a chalkboard. It is really like, and it's this high-pitched, not what I thought was going to come out of him. It's this really high-pitched, it's nasally. And I think the audiobook narrator is a genius. And I think that voice is not supposed to make you comfortable. It's supposed to be nails on a chalkboard. It's supposed to freak you out. And it does for the whole book. So I just kind of said to myself, all right, I'm supposed to feel weirded out here. And it worked. Dylan, what do you think about that voice, since you listened to as well?
It definitely weirds you out, and it's not the voice you'd expect for the villain. But you said it yourself, Philip. You referred to Doriaika as him, which is an assumption a lot of us make whilst reading this. So we expect a deep male voice.
Yep.
But it is a reminder that Doriaika's an it.
Yep.
These aren't humans. These are aliens.
That is
so it's
very,
really
very true, Dylan.
Coded voice. They're just like, that's funky.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
the Bleeding Silver, I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
It's sort of like he's built this whole culture, and he's built these cannibalistic vampires, really. They eat raw meat, they drink blood, and here's this guy suddenly bleeding silver. So is that symbolic that he's now impervious to the whole vampire myth? I wondered what the significance of the silver was. Anybody see anything in that I might have missed?
That also has something to do, I would assume, with him being the chosen of the Watchers. And the silver, he's, as people are pointing out in the chat, he's unaffected by the gas that kills all the other Cielsen.
Yeah.
It doesn't kill Hadrian because he's human. Go ahead,
and I think it's revealed that he's not alone. He's got a little something on board that's kind of riding along with him.
There's something inside him, yeah.
He's not entirely just Cielsen at this point.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That he is possessed in a way. Of course, Hadrian kind of is too, isn't he?
Absolutely. Absolutely. These are the two, powerful pieces on the board being moved. They're very equal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
there
one
are
thing about the audiobook narrator, maybe someone can correct me in the comments, but I believe I remember Ruocchio mentioning in an interview that Empire of Silence was the first audiobook that Samuel Rukin ever did.
Wow. If that's true, I'm deeply. I think he is a professional actor, though.
I believe so. Yeah, I not like his first acting gig, but I think it was his first audiobook that he had ever done.
Wow, incredible!
But he's fantastic.
That's like Alan Walker.
I was just gonna say, I hear a guy named Alan Walker is that good too.
Yeah, Dan Trilogy audiobooks. Go buy them, everybody.
And leave reviews.
Shameless self-promotion. So, all right, commercials over. This is just crazy stuff. And all this goes down in this skull temple and the place of sacrifice that Hadrian's been dreaming about all this time. And we get to his execution. and just all kinds of stuff goes down here, including the demise of the Tamerlane, which absolutely I saw that ship being lowered there and all those eventually those people spilling out. I was like, oh no, please do not go there. And I'm like, later I was getting kind of hopeful. It's like, oh, okay, well, some of them are going to get away. And then, oh, dang, Ilara got killed. All right, the rest are going to get away. Nope, I feel bad for Pelino, but they're going to get away. And then, no, not Krim. Oh, no. Oh, man. And then, oh, no, Ilex. And then finally it was, okay, no, dude, you don't do Pelino. Don't do my boy Pelino like this.
Pelino was hard.
Man, and then even Corvo in the end. It's just like,
Corvo.
Whoa, wait a second. It's like, bam, bam, bam. It's just relentless.
That's that bill that came due, right? Like, I mean, not only the torture of stripping the Red Company from him, is everything he went through on the world ship, and then to just lose everything like that's why I'm glad a little bit of drink survived, because I want to tip one back to the Red Company.
Yeah. Also, one of the most emotional moments comes before that, when he's forced to choose somebody to be an emissary.
Oh my God.
Yes.
And the amount of weight that comes with the choice, not just on Hadrian, but also on Lorien, who he chooses.
Speaking of which, what do you guys think of the choice of Lorien? And I know there've got to be repercussions to it. Dylan, what do you think of the choice of Lorien? Is that who you'd pick? Who would you pick?
It's hard being unspoilery.
Yeah, I was just going to say, all you can say is great choice.
There's a lot more weight to that question than you might think.
Picking a Tyrion type, like someone smart, that's very good at strategy.
Yeah.
Good choice.
If there was somebody you needed to convince the Emperor of what had happened,
Lorien's
probably
best.
the right choice. Yeah.
But what would have gone down different if he had been there tactically in that battle? That's what made me, that was the fork in the whole stew for me, was did he save the wrong guy?
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't have known. He
wouldn't have known.
Savior was coming.
I'm going to say great choice. That's all I'm going to say. I also like the moment in the skull of the god where we have those whisperings and those flashbacks, and we kind of see the wheels within wheels, how this has been going for this has been playing out for so long, again and again across the cosmos. I thought that was a great moment.
With the crabs, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot that happens there that, in terms of, he gets a kind of spiritual moment there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he has this vision of what happened before. And of course, that ultimately you feel like, okay, the presence of the quiet has been restored to him. And that, of course, leads finally to the moment where he's able to summon from an alternate reality his high matter blade. And he kind of, even though he's kind of beat up, he does manage to wound Siriani Doriaika, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Was it just me that I was upset that after all this time, the quiet finally comes back and like everyone's about to die, and you get one sword? That's what you get. Here you go.
I mean, he's got to do something himself, right? So
this was his trek through the desert. I mean, this was his. There could be no one but himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely be reading the Lorien novella.
Yes.
I do want to shout out Corvo, who kicks ass during this whole thing and is blasting away with the big guns on the Tamerlane.
Yes.
And is covering their escape and knows from the beginning this is her end. And her last words, of course, are, "See it done." Right? Just brilliant writing. Love it. Love it. We have to... This one's for you, Corvo. Yeah.
To Corvo.
I didn't see her end as tragic because she watched all of her crew get pulled apart in front of her.
Yep.
Man, I would want to obliterate that place too.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I mean, with that light to counter the dark, with that bit of hope, all of them on the Tamerlane went out heroically. I mean, they went out like the 300 and the Hot Gates. I mean, they They went down swinging.
Absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so I read this when Hadrian and Valka take off in the Ascalon. They jump into warp or speed or hyperdrive or whatever. That kills a lot of the people on the ground, doesn't it? Maybe
Yes.
all of them. So
Yes.
their own people, plus all the Cielsen who are there, are probably wiped out by them jumping into hyperspace without having gone up far enough. Correct?
I think
So
some
this is
of
almost like
too.
a miniature version or a foreshadowing of what he does with the sun, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. In a way, yeah.
He
for sure.
sacrifices a whole bunch of humans to kill a lot more Cielsen.
Right.
Yeah, but what future did those humans have?
Exactly. They were going to get eaten, you know, like.
And in the bigger picture too, I haven't gotten there yet, so and you guys are gonna have to keep your poker faces on, but I'm assuming that Hadrian's decision in the future to blow up a sun, even though he knows I think he's gonna kill a bunch of people as well as Cielsen, but it's a calculation as well. Like, what future would these people have if the Cielsen continue to dominate, right? So I don't know. When I saw that happen, I thought, oh, this is kind of what happens, but on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a great bit of foreshadowing.
Huh. Oh yeah, please, Pelino. This was. I had finally just like at this point I was like, oh, he's just gonna freaking kill everybody, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, I knew when Pelino was Aulum. Was that the one with the wings? Aulum. Aulum. Man, I hate that thing because it killed a bunch of them. And Paulino's last moment where he jams the high matter sword down into its head, into its neck and gets to the heart. And he's done it. Basically, he's running on fumes at that point. His head is all caved in the back, and he's just basically protecting. And he says to Hadrian, I wouldn't have had all this if it hadn't been for you. So, and he's already lost Alara.
Ask Daniel what the name of that short story is, Philip, because I have not read that one.
Which one? The Lorien story?
No. I've read the Lorien novella, but the very bottom.
The Corvo POV story?
That happens immediately after that
That's
jump
a
to
short
light.
story. Huh.
Yeah.
God
really?
just announced a compendium of the shorts with one new short story, so now you can buy them all in one cover, and that's what I'm going to go for.
So it looks like it's called After the Feast, John.
Okay, after the feast.
It's-
But
it's
yeah,
a
it
lot
was
of the
like a
stories, but
metallic
not all of them.
shalab.
Okay.
Those.
This is okay. Hadrian makes Darrow look like Peppa Pig in regards to his genocidal tendencies.
That's pretty good.
I like it. Peppa Pig. I always thought Peppa was kind of a
She's got an edge. She's got an edge to her.
bit edgy, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, this is some high tragedy here.
So where does this rate for you in the series, Dr. Chase? Where would you put it?
Well, hold
don't-
on. We still got a whole section of the book. to
I
get
know,
through.
but he asked all of us to start, and we haven't heard from him.
I was hoping to avoid that.
Yeah, I know.
Once I lick my wounds and everything, it might be vying for my favorite
Yeah.
in the series so far. But that's
What's-
only
what's in
because of the
contention?
ending, because which we're going to talk about. It's
Yeah.
only because of the ending. But yeah, no, this one is just brilliant in my opinion, and it's stark.
Mm-hmm.
And I love where he goes with it. And I agree with Janny 100% that it's not grimdark. And it's because of this ending, which we're about to talk about.
Yes.
So Hadrian and Valka, 2 out of 90,000 escape on the Ascalon. They have to make a decision as they're surviving in space, far away from any port that they could call home. Who's going to go and fugue and who's going to stay awake, right? And they're both really traumatized at this point. So any thoughts on this section where the two of them are alone and dealing with all this trauma?
It was freaking scary because Hadrian had to stay awake. That made perfect sense, but he was so PTSD.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
the idea of the isolation, could he stand it? So it was a really poignant moment that her trust was big enough to allow that chance, that he might not be able to handle it.
Yeah, beautifully said. Yeah, can you imagine? This is Remus. Can you imagine being in solitary, awake on a ship for 20 years after the 7 years of hell on Darantun?
Here's
No,
what
I really-
here's what I think the brilliance is of that is that he does have some time with Volca. He does have some human contact and some healing moments there with Volca, and then we get to examine and see time healing wounds. And I just love that the book ended that way. I love that it took the time to end that way. I love that what happened wasn't in a time jump and by the next book he was there. I loved seeing that part of the journey. I loved seeing that part of the human experience. I loved seeing that just gut-wrenching, poignant moments of you having to find yourself and find the will and find the reason and find the meaning in all of that and all of that. And there's in silence might have been the best way to do that. I just really liked it. And I know a chunk of that, a lot of the ending was what Christopher added in there when the publisher said we have to split the book. It wasn't initially there.
Yeah, I'll read the Carlyle quote again that we started with. Silence, the great empire of silence, higher than the stars, deeper than the kingdoms of death. It alone is great, all else is small. And that is what Hadrian communes with.
That's what he has. That's what he has, yes.
That's 20 years, yeah. Beautifully said.
But that 20 years did not heal him. He was able to heal himself to the point where he could withstand the solitude, but the real healing took place after that.
On Colchis, yes.
Yeah.
And that's where what blew my mind, because Ruocchio twisted the usual trope, which is the hero goes through his grinding down to nothing moment and has to pick himself up without the mentor. Hadrian had a chance to have his mentor.
He got
and that
Gibson
was
back.
beautiful. It was beautiful. I wasn't expecting that.
Loved it. Loved that Tor Gibson was there, and had set himself in ice to be there.
But you were talking about taking the time in The Writing Dead, and there's a really memorable scene for me is when they first get on the ship and they're starting to head toward Colchis, is that Hadrian takes a shower for the first time in however many years, 7, 8 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And Valka's with him, and it's the first like tender, nice moment that they've had together, and everything about it feels wrong. Anything positive feels wrong to Hadrian. That to not have the time to take those moments to think about that and really feel the time where Hadrian had to be alone on that ship, that even though he wasn't totally healed, it was enough to make me buy that he was ready for what was coming next for him on Colchis. Because if that time wasn't spent on recognizing how damaged this man was to have to experience any level of positivity after all of that and feel that it was entirely wrong, everything else feels false afterwards.
Beautifully said, Jacob. I think he needed those 20 years of silence in order to be ready for the healing. And Janny's totally right. The healing takes place on Colchis. But I think that you're right that those 20 years gave him a chance to become ready for that. And a few beautiful things, not only Gibson's reunion, I'm all for it, but also I was very touched by the fact that Siren or Siran's descendants were part of this process, that this decision that initially Hadrian hated, that he didn't want Siren to leave him, he was mad at her for it. Now he's glad. Now he realizes what this means to him, that her descendants have taken
She spawned a group of watchers in a very different human way.
Yep.
Well, now she's the only person on the crew that got to have kind of a happy ending. Really,
Absolutely.
by going against Hadrian.
Chris Longson says, I cope by imagining Hadrian had a Wii on board in Master Sword Galaxy.
300 episodes of Stargate.
There you go.
Yes, beautifully said here by Dinton. The ending is also a point where both Valka and Hadrian manage to reflect and decompress. And I also love this point by Martian Luther that Valka's going through her own grief. We do focus a
Absolutely.
lot on Hadrian, but absolutely right. I'm so glad you pointed that out. But there's some just beautiful stuff here that really does. It's essential to this book. This is not an addendum. This elevates this whole book. In a sense, this is the catharsis, the beauty of Colchis once again, and very emotional, as Remus says. I swear, Gibson's final couple chapters with Hadrian is probably the most emotional I've ever gotten from a book. Incredible writing, yeah, beautiful. Yes, and then there's good old Imra, the keeper, who is one of these descendants of Siren or Siran. The audiobook narrator, as much as I love his performance, I think he's brilliant. He started out with Siren, and then later I think it's Siran. So you tell me what it is. I don't know. But
I would guess Saran, but that's a guess.
A lot of the pronunciations change in the audiobooks.
yeah, which is fine. It's still brilliant.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just a lot of healing does take place here on Colchis, and Hadrian gets this surprise. But he also, and of course he is major PTSD and everything, and he initially acts very hostile to Imra when she says, "Oh, your father is, he's waiting for you." He's like, "No, what do you mean?" And he gets angry at her and everything, right? And it's like, Hadrian, stop being a dope. But also,
his father is the last person he wants to see, though, too.
Yeah.
At that point, he doesn't realize she means his father. There's a lot to that term.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Valka's recovery period? Because she and the rest of the people with the Ascalon spent years staging this possibility of a rescue and keeping it alive when she had no guarantee he had even survived.
Yeah. And I think she even says that she thought he was dead. They didn't know if he was.
So yeah, her emotional, awful moment was pretty brutal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sitting there and not being able to make a sound, not being able to do anything, not being able to, limited fuel, limited supply. Could they survive long enough to even stage this? So they were really holding out hope when there was none.
Also, to willingly go into hypersleep like that when I feel like you'd have so many thoughts about what you're going to find when you wake up. Like, not feeling safe when you're basically putting yourself in a coma is a terrifying thought.
Yep, this is true. It would be a grimdark novel if Gibson did not preserve himself out of love, and Siren did not establish her family as guardians out of love. Yes.
Yeah.
These are very transformative.
Yeah. And I also, someone just mentioned the
Irani. Okay.
the memory loss was rough for Gibson, to see Gibson in that way at the end. But I really loved seeing a bit of, after all we've seeing a bit of human tenderness between a son and his father, and all the way up to the point where he's ravaged by age, and there's still those humane aspects and love and tenderness. I just thought it was so beautifully portrayed. Just really special.
I actually felt that Gibson's death was beautiful.
Yeah.
That this is the way death should happen,
And isn't it interesting that death is part of his healing process?
Yep. Yep. Because this death was not horrific and tragic, and this was a death that was meaningful.
Yeah.
And it was go ahead, Jay.
And it's part of the human experience that he's chosen through all of this torture and horror. He's stood by, steadfast, and chosen the human experience. My belief, my ideology. I will not give in, even when I'm tempted to that level. And then to see its irrevocable and yet loving, gentle end is just a wonderful moment that he's earned by staying steadfast to that belief. I thought it was just so powerful, very beautiful.
So the last tie to his childhood.
Yes.
And
Yes.
instead of having it forcibly taken, it was gently ended.
Shared. Yeah.
Yep. And this is a different Hadrian now. I think that's an important thing that we have now. He has gone through the crucible. He has been purified, as in a sense that this is the Hadrian that is not the one that we met in the beginning, who was, in some ways naive and idealistic, and in other ways had a lot of arrogance and blind spots. This Hadrian has been through the ringer.
Yes.
And he's damaged. And you can see where this Hadrian is could make the decision to destroy a son, having been through what he's been through.
It's one more step.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, guys? Is Hadrian a different character? Is this an important, again, I know you can't talk about the rest of the series, but it feels like a real flag planted here, this look here, because this is an important transformation that happens. And through this horrific, but in many ways, perhaps necessary transcendence through suffering.
I can't recall exactly, but I think Gibson might even point out that Hadrian's changed when he sees him again.
Yep.
And how could anyone not be the same? We're not who we were yesterday, let alone after 30 years of what Hadrian's been through.
Yeah.
But Philip, how are you feeling for things coming forwards?
Oh, I'm excited. There's some mysteries here, like Martian Luther's talking about Gibson's conversations with Hadrian and Alistair and family, and his singing recitation to the village. That was very endearing. Him telling stories to the children. I love that. But near the very end, he also was talking about, who was it? It felt like he had a son or something. Not Hadrian, but poker faces are coming on. Okay. He was somebody who had a son before he became a scholiast. And I'm guessing he was some kind of really because we already know, because of his height and all that he's a Palatine. So I'm guessing he was somebody really important at one point. But
well, also how long he's lived. I mean, despite being frozen.
He's a very long-lived Palatine.
Still should have been dead by now.
Sure. I think just through the series, and Janny does this with her series as well. I just have to tip my cap there as well. But I think Christopher does an amazing job at the end of each of these books in a series that there is a completely new world order and new character at the end of each book. And that continues. This is especially stark for Hadrian. But if you look at the end of Empire of Silence, if you look at the end of Howling Dark, if you look at the end of Demon in White, he's drastically transformed each and every time, as is the entire world around him. And he just, through the series, book after book after book, he completely has a new status quo for everything going forward at the end of each book.
Yeah. So, all right. And any other final thoughts on the ending here of Kingdoms of Death, guys? Anything we missed? Did we miss anything important?
I don't think
so.
so.
We missed some stuff.
I'm sure we did.
A lot happens.
Well,
So
the little trinkets coming back to him. The quiet shell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Seemingly by coincidence fell back into his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so larger forces at work, it seems, right?
Definitely.
Do you have any predictions for the next book, Philip?
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, I mean, everybody already died, so...
Did they? Did they?
Did they, though?
Almost.
All right, so, yeah, I just love this comment from Remus, and then I'll give my probably inaccurate predictions. For anyone who has held a loved one's hand in their final moments as they slip away, those scenes were so real to the human experience in a way people like Doriarca and Urbane can never understand. Yeah, well said. Because Urbane has given up his humanity.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
They've lost the whole point of everything. In trying to live forever, he's given up his
well,
really.
You said Doriarca gave up his too.
Yes, he's got silver blood and all that.
Yeah, Doriarca's given up his Cielson anity.
So that is the big difference between the two antagonists and protagonists in this book.
Yes.
Is Hadrian is content to stay human and serve the quiet, whereas Doyeka is promised to be a god and become a watcher.
That's a great point.
That is a great point.
Crucial difference.
That is stark line. Absolutely.
Yep. All right, I have to give predictions, do I?
Yes. I can't wait to hear.
Man, what about a wish list? Things you want to see. How about that?
Oh, okay. Well,
Will the horror continue?
I am a bit concerned for Valka because of the continuing issues with her mind. They were not able to heal her completely. And I've already said in the last time we got together, I feel like Hadrian already told us that he buries her on Colchis. So that's going to happen in one of these books. Hopefully it's the last one. I hope it's not the next one.
They could get a little timeshare somewhere, have a long life together. We don't know.
I mean, they've had those moments, which I'm really glad for. The Colchis moments have been the best, honestly, for the two of them.
Okay,
So
can we get a novella that's just Hadrian and Valka at Sandals, Jamaica for a little bit?
Honestly, I thought she was going to buy it sooner. There were so many nostalgic reflections by Hadrian in the previous book from that time on Colchis, where he said, I remember her walking down the cliff with the parasol and the... So I said, oh, he's setting it up.
Now look out.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect to have her in this book. I figured that something was going to happen to her very quickly after all those nostalgic reflections.
I'm hoping that Valka lives till the last book. That's my prediction. Valka will be in the series until the last book.
Is that a prediction or a wish list?
Both. So, I have to say it with conviction, so it sounds like a prediction. It's really more wish. But what else? Well, Hadrian lost a bit of his mojo, honestly. Although he does pick it up again when he summons his High Manor Blade, and he has his duel with Siriani Doriaika there. But I feel like he's going to become less of a hands-on fighter and more of a thinker kind of leader. I don't know. But I don't know. Are his sword slinging days over? Probably not entirely, because he's still got his superpower where, it makes him a really good swordsman when he can predict what the other person's going to do, so probably that won't go away altogether, but he's going to be, I'm interested to see what kind of a person he is going forward in the next book, in Ashes of Man. Having lost the Red Company this way, he's lost his family. That is just so brutal. That is going to leave. It's like losing a child or your children. You don't emerge from that the same person. That's just the worst kind of trauma that you could have, and he probably feels a great deal of guilt about that. And Christopher Ruocchio is too good of a writer not to follow up on that. That guilt is going to be a big factor in him going forward. The fact that he lost all his people that way. So that's going to be figuring large, I think, in Hadrian's character makeup going forward. And maybe even some of his decisions, like blowing up a son, what else? I don't know. I don't know, because a bunch of the characters are dead now, so I can't.
What comes next for Polino, Philip?
Yeah. What's next for Polino?
Yeah, they're gone. They're just gone. I mean, the Empire. I mean, obviously Hadrian's got to go back and report what happened with the Lothrian Commonwealth. So. There's going to be some conflict there between the Empire and the Commonwealth, one assumes, going in the future, because the Commonwealth has thrown their lot in, although it's only the elite, it's the leaders, really. But they've thrown their lot in with the Cielsen, They're like the Solarians, the Minos people, right?
Right, but it's like the elites, the leadership always drags everyone into a war when they make that decision.
Yep. Less hands-on there. Boom, bada boom. I love it. With his good right hand. He's going to have his fingers back, though, because they can make fingers grow, apparently, in this future. So he's going to have his fingers back. So that's nice. And I think I just talked about, the predictions for the war. I do think that Lothrians are going to be in the war, which is the Solid Empire is going to find itself surrounded here. It seems like they aren't going to have a bunch of options. And here's a question about Hadrian's power. Yeah. I mean, I assumed in this book that he was almost denied access to it, that we were talking about that sort of test of faith thing.
Yeah.
But we'll see. And that was answered in Spider-Man 2. Awesome.
What did you think of the Arthurian references? Because now we pretty much have this empire, whose one of his names is Arthur, surrounded by the barbarians, basically.
Yes. So the analogy is definitely there. And of course, Avalon, wasn't that the planet where the first William made his, foray, his defense of humanity back in the day? There's a lot of Arthurian reverberations with the fact that the Romano-Britons defending the last vestiges of civilization on the British Isles from the invading Angles and Saxons and whatnot. This overwhelming, brutal pagan force that was destroying all of the fragile remnants of civilization. At
its darkest hour, when in need, the sword will rise.
Yep. And we did talk about the inspiration for the Lothrians earlier, the Askians from Book of the New Sun. But I think basically Christopher Ruocchio really runs with that. Like, he does a lot more. Like, you'll be like, it's kind of almost, it's not an aside, but you'll be like, oh, okay, when you read it in Book of the New Sun. But
Book of the New Sun is about that fat.
It's not that big. Yep. Yes, the round table and everything. There's also, of course, Godolphin with the double D should be pronounced like a TH. But I think in the narrator says Godolphin, but whatever. That is, of course, Godolphin is this famous poem, medieval Welsh poem about it has Arthurian resonances as well. It's been sort of, in that circle, if you will. But it's a story of a tragedy, of a massacre, really, where the Britons are overrun in battle by the Angles, essentially, in that. And it's the end of something. It's the end of a kingdom, really. So there is a sense of tragedy that is being written into this as well. So, what would I do if I were the emperor? I think Philip is a great name for an emperor, first of all.
It definitely is.
For sure.
What's his next move? Now he's contending against the Cielsen. He's contending against some of the extra Solarians. And he's contending against the stupid Lothrians. So I don't know. He is going to have to. Yes, indeed, Mick Scarfield. Godolphin is a lament. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. He's kind of stuck in many ways. I mean, William's got to. I'm sure he is going to be relying on his knight Victorian, Hadrian Marlowe. I don't think anyone else there in the echelon has had much success against the Cielsen. So, and all these people made this tremendous sacrifice so Hadrian could live, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting because we were talking about comparisons to the Bible and Christ and all that. Well, in the Bible, Christ dies for everyone else. But in this, everyone else dies for Hadrian because he represents something, some hope. He has
the half-mortal.
The half-mortal. He's the half-mortal.
And time is running in reverse.
Yep. With time running in reverse. Yep. Just send Hadrian again. Yes.
It'll
right.
be fine.
He'll do his thing, give him a ship maybe, and then imprison him afterwards, we'll see. I mean, the people back in the Empire have to get over themselves too, though, and stop seeing Hadrian as a climber when, and of course then they won't see it until the Cielsen are on their doorsteps, right? And that's how people are, climate change is not real until the hurricane blows your house away, right? So that's kind of how it is, I think. But so I don't know. I didn't give really good predictions, but everybody's dead, so you can give me a break this time.
I am really excited for you to read Ashes of Man. It's
Me
another
too.
one of my favorites.
Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, from here on out, I mean, I love
They're all
Disquiet
bangers.
Gods.
Yeah.
I mean, just I'm thinking about stuff that happens in each one, and it's like, oh my gosh, you're not going to see that coming. There's no way to predict.
Yeah, I do see, and this is interesting, Hadrian becoming more pro-Empire for sure than he was in the beginning, which I don't know, Hadrian. I mean, you were kind of right before when you were young and idealistic about the Empire. It is brutally exploitative, but is it not as bad as the
What's the
Yeltsin?
alternative?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Well, I think the absolute point is that it is no better as a civilization than any of the others, with the difference that it allows the humanity to stay human.
Yeah, at least there's that. At least there's that. Could you even argue then that the Chantry have, as evil as they've been, they've been pretty bad throughout this, but they do have this thing about, nope, sorry, we don't want you combining yourself with machine parts and becoming less than human that way. I mean, do they have a point? Are they right about, oh gosh, poker face?
Everyone gets very quiet.
Maybe we should ask AI how it would solve our problem. Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah. What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong with that? Well, I don't know. Look at Sun Eater. I do think that Christopher Ruocchio was a bit ahead of his time, really, in with the AI elements in here, wasn't he? People who are all about AI doing everything for them really should read Sun Eater.
That's a concept that's been played with for
It's been a while.
decades and decades.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, you can read.
Dune among it, but it was also introduced way before Dune. You don't have to throw the stone too far looking ahead to see the evils of that road.
Hyperion, Dan Simmons, all that.
Hyperion, big time.
That's a long time ago. Yeah, but I like the way Ruocchio's handled it as well. For sure.
Well, you're what, about halfway through or so? I mean, are you still enjoying it more than you even expected yourself to? Is it?
Yeah. Right now, what we're talking about here is this has the potential to make like all-time favorite for me.
Yeah. That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
All-time favorite, like singular
Series?
Like among my all-time favorite series. Yes.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
if somebody put a gun to my head and made me make a top 10 video,
Which no one's going to do that, Philip.
Why not?
You can't do that. The older you get, the more books you've read.
It is
Top
hard.
10 lists
Possible.
become irrelevant. You get a top 100 or a top 200 because
Yeah.
each book has a strength. And how
Yeah.
do you rate one above another?
yeah.
You have to
Although-
put something else down for
Yeah.
being excellent for what it is. So what you ended up with is I've got a pot of favorites, and
Yeah.
I don't rank them because each one is a favorite for a reason.
Well, that's because you're smart.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, that's it. That's it,
I'm
Janny.
not stuck doing videos where it's expected to do this thing.
I was gonna say this is why Janny doesn't have a booktube channel.
But I will also say that Wars of Light and Shadow is going to be on that list too. So
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I was getting pretty close to the top too, but probably.
So anyway, yeah, but you guys are wonderful. Thank you all again, Dylan. Thank you so much, Janny. You're the best. Jacob,
Yes.
John, you two are my favorite son-father duo. Not just on YouTube, but in the whole world. We all love.
Oh,
it.
okay. I was on YouTube. Are there others? I didn't even know.
I was gonna say, how long is that list?
I'm sure there are others. out there.
There gotta be, sure.
And thank you also, all you wonderful people in the chat.
Great chat.
You guys are really fantastic. I love
Great
your
chat.
comments. Just want to shout out all you really great people in the chat, and all of you. I'm sorry if I didn't get to every single comment, but you've been so helpful. And Team Replay as well. Thank you, Team Replay, for being there, for getting our videos out into the algorithm and all that. So, yeah. All right. But I think we're going to end this one. So thank you all again. And we'll be back in about a month with the next one in the Sun Eater, book 5, which is Ashes of Man.
That sounds like a romp. It's a comedy romp.
Yeah, sure. Well, it does have, I think it's Valka on the cover. It's my guess anyway. So
It does, yes.
Yeah. Yay. Okay. I love the Valka focus. So let's see what happens. All right, we'll see you all in about a month. Bye now.
See ya.
Thanks, Philip. Bye, everybody.